I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit vpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. She was Tantomile in the Hamburg production of CATS in Germany in the 90s. So welcome, Lynette Tompkins Engel. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. Love talking to anybody that's done it in German because it fascinates me to do it in another language, especially if it's not your first language. So I want to get to that, but I always got to start at the beginning. When did you first see CATS? When did you first learn about it? Like, what was your introduction before you ended up in the show?
Okay, I was obsessed.
Obsessed?
I was obsessed.
Okay.
Okay, as a dancer, I had been doing musical theater. Well, I might as well just full disclosure. I graduated from college in 1984, and I started, I was from New York, came back to New York, started auditioning, and of course I auditioned for CATS because as a dancer, that's what you do. And, the show's weird. I saw it. It's really weird. But as a dancer, there's so much dancing in it. So I definitely saw it when it first opened.
Okay, so you saw a Broadway production.
I saw a Broadway production
in the
right
80s
from the beginning.
when you were in
80s.
high school.
No.
Or after high school or younger?
After high school.
After high school. Okay, so after high school.
I can't even remember when it opened.
It was in the 80s, sometime in the 80s.
So I mean, it was probably, it was after college.
Okay.
So I was obsessed with it, so I was like, I've got to do this show. And I went to the auditions and I did pretty well, but I just didn't get it, and I would dream about it. And my friends thought I was absolutely insane. They kept on saying, Lynette, there's so many other shows out there. And I'd get another show, but I was like, it's not CATS. And so finally I did get CATS in, I think it was 92. Yeah. In Hamburg.
Okay.
So, yes.
So I want to go back to you're seeing it as a dancer. You're seeing it from the eyes of a dancer.
Yes.
You're at this point a professional. Like you're in your career and you know that this is a realm of possibility.
Yes.
When you first saw it the first time, did you kind of know what you were going into? Like, or did you just know it was this like phenomenon? Because it was pretty early in its run versus now where there's 40 plus years. People have an opinion.
You mean, did I know what the show was?
Yeah.
I feel like I did.
Okay.
And maybe because I probably auditioned for it before I saw it.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
I think I auditioned for it before I saw it. But I'd heard about it. I knew people who were in it. You take dance classes, you meet people, you audition, you meet people, you work, you meet people. So I probably knew people who were in it. To me, the Broadway production, the later tour, had some of the best dancers in New York City in it. And, some people say, oh, the dancing's so weird and it's not natural. And, oh my gosh, what is, but for me, I don't know. I love the music. I love the choreography and I really just wanted to do it. That was kind of, I think of all of the shows that I saw, I wanted to do that one more than anything else. And I kept on, I was working, I was getting shows and I was thinking, but it's not CATS.
Yeah.
So when I finally did get CATS, I didn't hesitate,
Definitely.
I was already in Europe. Europe.
Did you have a certain cat that you were like, when you saw it was like, I want to be this particular dancer? Or was it just, it's all amazing?
And no, I did not. And also, as I said, there's this huge backstory to CATS, which I didn't know because nobody knows unless they do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Yeah. So no, I didn't. I just wanted to do it. It didn't matter to me. It didn't matter if I was a swing. It didn't matter what I did.
I love it because it's fascinating. I think back to the eras of CATS because it feels like there's like almost sections of it. And the time that you're talking about it, this is pre-YouTube, pre-social media, pre-everything. So all that you have is either you saw it or I didn't think about the angle you're saying, which is like you're in audition rooms and someone had just done it and they can tell you a little bit about like, oh, I was Tantomile and here's what you need to know about like this crazy story.
Exactly.
It's like totally different than the what a 5,000 Wikipedia page fan site that exists today, and the
No.
clips that are all over the internet.
And every time you audition for it, they do the same piece of choreography from the show. So, then I felt like, oh, I know this section of the ball because that's what they were teaching at the audition every single time. And then for callbacks, they would do a different number. So, yeah.
Do you remember what part was the audition?
I do. It was called Copeland. Have you heard that before?
I've heard it all, but like I don't know what that means. Like I'm not.
Okay.
You could pinpoint the section of the ball. Tell me that's Copeland. I'd be like, cool. Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's pretty dancey. It's pretty hard. And I think we might have gone into Jutters. So the Copeland, now I'm remembering it starts with Copeland, and I believe we went into Jutters. So that's two parts of the ball.
Because every part is sectioned and named, and
yes,
and
they're named differently in different countries.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I mean, most of the names stay the same. So Copeland was Copeland, Jutters was Jutters, but I believe in the States there's a section called American Airlines, and in Germany it was Lufthansa.
That
it
is
might have been
amazing.
American. Maybe it wasn't American, but it was United or something. I mean, it was some American airline, but in Germany it was called Lufthansa. That section.
That is so fun. So it's like, so we're just gonna tweak it. Like we know we need an airplane section right here. We're just gonna call it local. I'm wondering if they did the same thing in other countries too. If they
probably did.
Yeah.
They probably did. And the names of each of the sections were so sort of random. There's one part called washing machine. There's girls upstage, girls downstage. Let me see. Oh, I can't even remember all of them. Warsaw. Now, I wonder if it was Warsaw all over the world.
Yeah. So that's the part I don't know. I'm sure there's people listening to this who know.
Yeah. Oh, they would
sections.
know. Oh, definitely.
But that is fun. I love that it's American Airlines and.
I think it was American, maybe United. Who knows? Delta?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, as I say, now we're stuck in the U.S. with just a handful. But back in the
day,
in the 90s, there were multiple choices. There were all the regionals, and
yeah.
That's okay. So that's fun. Okay, I want to fast forward though. So now you get the role, and you have two things I think that are really wild to deal with that I can't even wrap my head around. So one I can. One is as you've said, there is a deep story that you've got to learn because you've just been learning dance numbers and have seen it, but what is the actual plot? And then the second thing is you've got to learn it in German. You've got to learn a whole nother version of singing the songs that you know some of them, or you probably know a lot of it, but not in a totally different language. That's not your first language.
Exactly. And at the point that when I got the German show, and I had to move to Hamburg, and it was one of those I had been doing. There was a huge international tour of West Side Story. This is around the time that Jerome Robbins' Broadway was on Broadway, or maybe it had closed. There were a bunch of people who had done the Broadway show who were doing this pretty amazing international tour of West Side Story that was going all over Europe in English. So that's how I got to Europe. While I was there, we actually were in Hamburg for 2 months. And a friend of mine was in CATS Hamburg. So I saw it in German, which I had never seen before. And so I auditioned there, and that's when I got it. But my contract was over for West Side Story in January, and it started for CATS in February.
Wow.
So I flew home, just repacked, flew to Hamburg, and I stayed with my friend for a little bit until I could find an apartment in Hamburg. And it was the longest rehearsal period of any show I have ever done. It was 9 weeks, which is a lot.
9 weeks of rehearsal.
9 weeks of rehearsal. Most of the cast, almost all of the cast, were German foreigners who did not speak German.
Yeah.
So I think I had a half hour to an hour of a phonetics lesson with a private phonetics coach every single rehearsal day. I had to learn, the whole score is sung.
Yeah.
And everybody sings pretty much everything. It's a lot of text. And I didn't know German. I couldn't read German. So I sat with the phonetics coach and I wrote exactly every word, what it sounded like. I wrote it on top of my score and I had to memorize it that way.
Yeah.
And the phonetics had to be really good because, this was a show in German, and German people are coming to see it. And if they can't understand what you're saying, that was a big problem. So we really worked hard on the phonetics. I ended up staying in Germany for a very, very long time. And so my phonetics is quite good because of that, I think, because I had this, individual instruction. Yeah. So
did you pick up some of the language?
Oh, yeah. Because I got married, I lived there. My son was born in Germany. I did a lot of other shows in Germany because as a certain thing sort of boomed after a certain bit of time, and a ton of shows came. At that point when I was there, I think it was just Starlight and Phantom and Starlight and Phantom and Cats. But then it was Beauty and the Beast and Joseph and all these other shows. So I was lucky. I got to do a lot of them.
Oh, that's fun.
But Cats was the first one that I did in German. And it was really weird. And I think the first time I saw the show, I'd seen the show so many times in English, and I sat there and the first line of the show is in English is, "Are you blind when you're born?" Mm-hmm. And so I'm listening. The whole set looks exactly the same. Everything is exactly the same as the Broadway production. And then I hear, "Bist du blind bei Geburt?" And that was the first line that Munkestrap sings in the show. And it just threw me. It was just so weird, having heard this show so many times in English.
Yeah. I've kind of thought the same way of like when I first heard that it was going to be in other languages, which of course makes sense. Like, you adapt it to, something this big and that's been running for that long. But then I kind of thought back to, this is the story that when I first saw it in the U.S., it was the revival, and there were a lot of tourists that weren't speaking English in the audience, at least. So,
right.
At least it wasn't their first language or wasn't the language that they were conversing with each other when they were talking before the show. And then when I walked out, I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense because you don't really need to fully hear everything to follow the plot. Like, it's just not necessarily told. Yeah, quote unquote plot. So it's not really told. So I am kind of curious when you're going through this process, you obviously have to learn the phonetics and you have to learn the dance and you have to learn the singing and you have to learn all of this, but you also have to learn your character.
Yes.
How did you learn that? How did you learn it on? Was it in pieces of where it's like, I'm going to tell you all the story and then we're going to go into the dance and the singing? Or was it figure out the dancing and then let's figure out the mannerisms?
No, it was all kind of at the same time.
All blurred together.
So It was all together. It was, you'd look at your rehearsal schedule and it could be, okay, I'm in the dance studio for this amount of time. I'm in a singing lesson. Then I have phonetics. But we also had a resident director. Mm-hmm. And she was responsible for the acting part.
Okay.
So we had, when I joined the company, it was a huge changeover because people generally had a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
And that year there were a lot of new people coming into the show. So, it was a lot. There were a lot of people. So we would have these rehearsals with our resident director, and she would sit down and she would start from the beginning and tell us the story and talk about the relationships between the cats and talk about, she would talk about who we were individually, who Tantomile was, who Corkapat was, Vicky, Bombi, all of them, and how they all fit into the show. And it was serious.
Yeah. So what do you remember from that? And then also, was there anything that let's start with this question first. When you first heard that, having seen the show, having been a fan of the show, what was the moment where you were just like, I never knew that? Like, that really surprised all of it?
Pretty much all of it.
Okay.
I mean, I think when I saw the show, all I knew was Grisabella dies and goes to cat heaven. There's some fights, there's the sexy cats, and there's a lot of little kittens running around, and that's about all I knew.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't even think of story because it doesn't seem like there's a story when you watch it and you don't know there's a story. You're just saying, oh, there's a lot of dancing going on. Set's pretty cool. You know what I mean? And I like the music. And clearly there's this huge thing at the end where Grisabella goes up in the sky and sings the big song.
But that's it. Yeah. There's not much.
I really didn't know. And maybe I might have talked to some friends who had done it, but I mean, it wasn't like that was the first thing that you talk about. Well, let me tell you the backstory of Cats. and what, who all these creatures are and what their personalities are.
That's all I talk about. So that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the Tantomile story you were given?
Okay. So the Tantomile story is that she is a twin with Corkapat. And they are the mystical cats who sense things before anything happens. So first of all, it was tricky because you get in sync with your partner who's the twin because you have to move together all the time.
Yeah.
You do the same thing all the time. It's not choreographed, but you kind of do, after a while of working together, you sort of start to move together and feel what one person is going to do, whether it's walking across the stage or crawling across the stage. So what they were both meant to be was these kind of intuitive cats who can sense whenever anything's going to happen. So for example, when they're I think in the second act, there's a McCavity comes on and there's a big fight. The twins kind of know that's going to happen. They know that Grisabella is going to come on stage before she comes on stage, and they can sense something. It sounds so weird when I'm talking about because I took this totally seriously. So that was there, and they're not quite grown up, but they're not quite babies. The babies are Pouncible and Victoria and Mungo and Rump. Those were the babies.
Yeah.
And the grown-ups are, Bombi and Grizzy and all of those. But so we were sort of the in-between ones, and we had to move a certain way as well. So the twins, and interestingly enough, the twins were not in the tour, in the national tour. I think that they pared it down, so they I think those were
twins get cut. They get cut out in a lot of places when they need to.
They do, because they don't have a special number or anything like that. But they are do pretty much all of the dancing.
Yeah,
all of the dancing. But we also had to crawl in sync together. And we were always crawling these long crawls. It wasn't like a scampery crawl. It was a long crawl. So we had, at least in Hamburg, we had special knee pads. Because it was a lot on the knees. I mean, everybody was a lot on the knees, but I feel like maybe the twins were a little bit more on the knees than others. So my knee pads were about that long and very thick. So, I mean, I enjoyed doing it. It was fun for me my second year to cover other roles, but there's something special. The only thing is that you really have to get along with your partner.
Yeah, with the twin.
You spend the entire show together. So when a swing is on, I mean, the swings were amazing, and they kind of would follow the person who was the first cast person, and also because in Hamburg we had so many swings that we got swung out of. We had 4 show weekends. And we generally got swung out. If you were first cast, you got swung out of one of the shows on the weekend. So you didn't have to do all 4 unless there were people who were out. So, 9 times out of 10, I would have a cover on. Plus we had vacation, so there was always a cover on and people were injured.
Wow.
Or out sick.
Yeah. The twins are such an interesting piece of the show. I've always used the twins as my example when someone talks about like if it's the depth of the show. Yeah. Because that's a cat that I would say a non-super fan or a non-fan is going to have any idea of the name.
Oh, no.
Or where they are, or what they're doing, or what's happening. Nope. But when I saw the show most recently, having learned way too much about this show now, I was most fascinated by watching them jump around a corner faster or turn their heads before moments happen.
Yeah.
And it's if you know some of these pieces, then everything is so intentional. And that was where I'm I was bummed when I hear they get cut, because I'm that's such a cool little piece of these almost they know everything, they know what's going to happen, they have this telepathic ability to understand everything, and that's just not at all the first time anybody sees it catches any of this.
No. So you'd have to know, but I mean, I guess some of the other cats are more obvious. It's more obvious what their sort of personality is, or their role in the show, kind of.
Yeah. Well, there's the song cats too. So that was when I first started. I'm well, there's the one where they just sing their names over and over again. In some capacity, they all pretty much sing their name. And then there's a couple that perform a song, but they're,
Yes.
you know, on stage for, like, I think of the McCavity song, it's like you get to pretty much learn about Bomb and Demeter.
Right.
But there's a bunch of other cats. And then especially in the opening number, there's all the ensemble characters that are dancing that like have new names. And there's just so much constantly happening
Yep.
that unless you take the time to learn it or pay attention to it or read it, you're not going to follow most of it.
No.
And so as a performer, how much thought goes into when you're on stage of like, I've got to tell this like telepathic moment versus like, I just got to dance here, because that's really what people are paying to see.
Oh no, it's super fun, you know, to kind of, and you know, as a performer, the show is never the same every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're always doing something different, or, you know, you find some fun way to play or use your mystical abilities in some fun way. So yeah, I mean, it's all one thing, whether it's the singing and the dancing and being the character. I mean, I would say dancing, I just dance. I mean, Tantomile as a character doesn't come out in the actual dancing, but I don't know that anyone's character comes out in the actual dancing when it's a hard dance number, especially the ball. Maybe Bombi a little bit, because she can kind of lay back a little, you know, because of her character, but everybody else is just, you know, just fighting to get through that number, which is 20 minutes. So yeah, I wouldn't say that, but in all of the other moments, because you're pretty much on stage almost the whole show.
Yeah.
So in the in between places where you're not dancing, or you're listening to someone else singing, or, you know, something else is going on, I was very aware of my character and very aware, you know, but it became a fun thing. It wasn't, it didn't take it that seriously. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to, right? You can't go too deep into like, oh, here's my powers that I'm going to use on stage. It's just a mechanism. But
it's a fun way to play around.
Yeah.
And, you know, sort of as you get to know people, you also form, you know, certain relationships. So I remember there was one year I decided that Tantomile and Rumpelteazer were really good friends, you know.
Okay.
And so we just formed, because I was good friends with the person who played Rumpel.
Yeah.
You know, so we just decided that they had a little, you know, sort of friendship, and maybe Tantomile would get a little annoyed with Rump because she was younger and didn't have those qualities of mystical powers or whatever. So, but you can, I mean, there is the freedom actually in that show to create your own narrative within the narrative.
Yeah. Well, so that was always my next question, which was going to be, what other relationships did you add or play? Like you have probably, there's a couple that are like the most built-in ones. Like there's Bomb and Demeter, there's the twins, there's a few that are just like very clearly you've got to be in this moment with these people.
Yes.
But then there's so much other freedom of where you're all on stage and dancing, and, you know, you're staged, but there's moments where you're just sitting and you can have a look to a cat or a moment to a cat, or I'm annoyed and maybe growl at them.
Yeah.
Which ones did you like really lean into besides obviously Copeland?
Oh, you mean characters?
Yeah. Like what relationships for Tantomile?
So I would say the younger cats.
Okay.
You know, but, you know, I wouldn't say it was only one thing, because it depended on the evening. It really did.
Totally different every day.
Oh, totally. As long as you could stay in character, maybe Tantomile had a moment with Bombi, you know, and maybe Bombi was annoyed with her, or maybe Bombi embraced her at that moment. So it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same all the time at all. Yeah.
Okay.
It could have been anybody.
That adds to my thought, which is like, I've always kind of really felt that this is like, it's a cult, but it's like, it's a family too. So, so it's almost like, you know what, we're all family. One or two of them are going to annoy you, but they're going to go in waves. One night they might be the one I'm love hanging out with. Another night they might be the one I can't stand. But at the end of the day, we're all family. Yeah.
I had one friend, oh my gosh, this is probably, well, I'll say it because CATS Hamburg's closed.
Yeah.
But he was so fun. He covered a couple of things, but whenever he was Alonzo, we had a moment during the Tugger dance. And the Tugger dance was always super fun, you know, because it was choreographed, but then there were these moments that were free dancing. So somehow we would always connect doing those, and because where I was on stage, I wasn't necessarily next to Cora Capat all the time, you know? So in those free dancing moments, he would whisper something to me and it would be like, model walk. And so then we would incorporate a model walk into the free dancing and then go back into the choreography. So that's what I say. Those kind of things, for some reason, we kind of connected during that part of the show. Now, that was nothing to do with character.
Yeah.
That was just fun.
No, that's really fun though. Cause like there is a loose plot and there is the loose interpretation of each character, but then there's a lot of open-ended, like it could be this, it could be that.
So much that's open-ended.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, it's pretty much almost everything is open-ended except for the choreography.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but I think there's staging too, right? Like, you know, that's where a lot of these relationships, at least from the fans, come from are, well, these two are next to each other right now. And because of that, they're going to look. Or so I think like that almost influences everything more. Or, you know, who lifts Victoria is like their stuff. Or who's the first one to touch Griswold. Like a lot of those, like those things are
those things are super important that they're staged. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even as Tantomile, she has a couple of solo lines, and that even the choreography for that was staged. I think the second line was right before Deuteronomy comes on stage for the first time for the old Deuteronomy song. She sings, I believe it is old Deuteronomy, because she senses that he's coming. And there's a little bit of a choreographic moment where she rises and sings that line, and then she sinks back to the floor and has a moment with Cora Capat. So, you know, that was always there.
Yeah.
That was always there.
We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. I want to pivot a little bit to the some of the funny, weird, memorable, random things from doing this show. Like, I think one thing I've loved hearing from everyone is like, especially on tours and different things, like there's some chaos that goes with something like this that doesn't, you know, like live theater, what happened. So what do you remember? What were some of the memorable moments, the funny moments, the like, oh, I can't believe this happened, or this fan interaction or this stage interaction, or let's hear some of those.
Sure. Okay. This was well into CATS. I remember my first time on as Bombularina, and I was really excited and I was nervous. And her opening, I can't remember, what did she sing? In English, it was, "Were you Whittington's friend?"
Okay.
And she has to do a big leg kick when she comes out right down stage. And I had so much energy and was so excited to go on as Bombi the first time. I came out, I kicked so hard, I kicked my leg out from underneath me, fell on my back like a roach, like this, you know, and right as I'm singing the word friend, which was Freund in German, so it sounded like Freund, like that. And then I rolled over really quickly to pretend that didn't happen. And I looked out in the audience, and sitting, I guess, in the second row were two fans. They were teenage fans who were always there every weekend, always there. And I saw them look at me because, you know, maybe if you hadn't seen the show, you might have thought that was
planned,
maybe, but they knew. And I remember just looking at them, and they looked at each other and gave each other a funny look. And I just had to, you know, so I do remember that. And I also, we had a dance captain at that point who was super intimidating, amazing dance captain, but super intimidating. And when I walked off stage at the end of the number, he just looked at me and he said, "Yeah, nice fall, Lynette." So that was one thing that was pretty funny, or fun. Okay. I do. I mean, this wasn't me, but I will never forget this. Because a lot of the numbers have a lot of lyrics. And I remember the Mistopheles song, before Mistopheles comes out, Tugger sings it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of backups, like, that kind of thing. And there was a guy who had just learned the part of Tugger. He was American. And so he starts singing. He was a great singer, forgot all the lyrics in German, forgot them all. So he just, right at the top of the song, so he just started to sing, da-da-na-na-na-na-na, like that. And we all literally just cracked up. I mean, it did not help him, help him. Just watched him die.
Wow.
So
Nobody jumped in to sing the words?
No,
Nope.
no. We didn't know them because they were Tugger's lyrics. They
Yeah.
weren't ours.
Yeah.
So we just did the backups.
That's kind of fun. I guess that's a little different because I'm sure, you probably know the lyrics. I just assume that you probably know some of the lyrics when it's in English, but when it's not in English,
Well,
you probably...
I did know them. I knew some of them. I mean, after you've heard it for so long.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
Do. But I mean, we were hoping he was going to
figure it out, jump in eventually.
Jump in on it.
Yeah.
And yeah. And our mics weren't turned on at that point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're the backup vocals there at that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's so many things. I mean, I think in live theater, things can just go off or something doesn't work or someone's mic's on when they're backstage, but that's not typical to CATS. That's pretty typical.
That's everything. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of things typical to CATS. Oh, okay. So this is typical to Hamburg CATS. So when we were off a show, so if you were first cast and you had your off show, or it was either you could go home or you had to cover. But what they allowed us to do when we were covering was to go out to eat. And now just think, their cell phones were not a big thing then. So there were 2 places that we could have food during the show, and they would call us if they needed us.
So you were sitting like down the street.
And you would get the stage manager or somebody from the house would call the restaurant and say, I need to speak to whomever. You need to come back on. So-and-so got hurt. So you'd race down the street, have to get into makeup and wig as fast as you can and literally scooch onto the stage.
This is when you're covering. So this is like once a week? Like how often are you eating at this? This sounds like a ploy for this restaurant. So
I as a cover maybe once a week, but a lot of times I didn't go because I got nervous.
Yeah.
I did have to go on when I was called from the restaurant, and it was really stressful. It was literally around the block, but then you have to run, go upstairs to your dressing room, go into the Masca, which is a place where they do your pin curls and put the wig on and do your makeup as fast as you can and get into costume and literally run on stage as fast as you can.
I'm trying to wrap my head around. So this is like, it's Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
And you're a potential cover. So it's like, instead of sitting at home.
Well, you can't go home. You couldn't go home if you were covering.
Okay, because you're too far.
Yeah, you're too far. You could go, if you were off for the show, you could go home, but then you're not covering. But if you were covering, you could only be in the theater, or you could be at one of these 2 restaurants.
2 restaurants, or sitting backstage.
Sitting backstage, exactly.
Wow.
So,
do you remember the 2 restaurants? What type of food was it? Was it good?
One was Chinese. It was called Manha, and it was Chinese. And the other one, I can't remember the name, but it was Italian.
Okay.
And of course, you might have a glass of wine.
Yeah. One's not going to hurt.
Right? Or a big plate of pasta. And then you have to run and get on stage. And I remember I was with one of my colleagues, and she got called, and she had to go on for Rumpelteazer, because the Rumpelteazer got hurt during the Mungo and Rump number, which is in the first act.
Yeah.
And so I remember she said, when she got the call, she said, well, if I walk, I'll miss doing the ball. If I run, I have to do the ball. She ran. She got on in time.
I was going to say, so I could see a little stroll from restaurant there, like, Yeah,
I mean, you just had a big bowl of pasta. You're not really going to want to do the ball after that.
That is such a fun.
Yeah.
Is that's not common? And
no.
I mean, that obviously changes now where everyone's got their cell phone or.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even think that the theaters in Germany do that anymore. When I joined CATS, it was in its 7th year, huge success in Hamburg. And so we were kind of spoiled as performers. And so we had a lot of privileges.
It feels so fun. It just sounds so mafia. I'm like listening to you being like, all right, I got to go sit. And then the restaurant gets called and they come to your table. I can imagine like whispering in your ear, like, you got to go.
They say, hey, are you Lynette? You've got to go.
You've got to make it. There's someone got hurt in the first act.
Exactly.
That is fascinating.
It's really funny. And the speed with which, I mean, when I first got to the show, they have to teach you, because there's very specific makeup for each cat. very specific. And the makeup is actually specific to the cat. So Tantomile and Corkapat, we were the only cats whose makeup was not symmetrical. So one side was a little bit different from the other side to make us more mysterious looking, but it's very, very specific. The colors, the the design. And so when I first was learning how to do the makeup, it took a really long time for me to do it and get it right. But then after a while, I did the show for 3 years. It was like, whatever. I could do it pretty quickly.
Yeah. So you could do it after your bowl of pasta and wine and ready to.
I could get on that stage. Go.
I love it. Okay, let's do a little bit of rapid fire here for the musical. So, if you could go on for one night, any character, whether male, female, you could do it, you couldn't do it. Who would you want to just do one night as performing as?
Demeter.
Mm-hmm. So did you get to do Demeter when you were covered? Yes. Okay. Yes. So you want to?
I love Demeter.
Go back, be skittish, have that moment.
Be skittish, loved it. Yeah.
Awesome. Who are your favorite and least favorite cats?
Do you mean to
characters? Not to perform. Just like if you as Lynette are meeting the personality of this one, which one it would be your best friend, and which one would you absolutely be annoyed by at all times? Okay,
I think I'd be a little bit annoyed by Skimbleshanks. I don't know why. Okay. I don't know why, because he's pretty friendly and there's something, So, Skimbleshanks would not have been my favorite cat. Let's see. Who would I have loved? Which cat do I that's a hard one. I think I might say Demeter again, because there's something about her that's vulnerable and kind of deep. And, the idea that I don't know if you've heard her backstory, that she's been raped by McCavity, and that there's still this sort of attraction, but fear, and that Bombi takes care of her. I don't know. I like that part. I like the way, I love her number. And I love, when I played Demeter, I enjoyed being her throughout the show. I mean, I really did love Tantomile. I did, because that was mine, but it was really fun to go on as Demeter. And I didn't have to do the Siamese number, which is the worst number in the history of musical theater. So glad they cut it out.
Yeah,
I think
it's cut.
It's totally racist.
Yes.
I mean, horrible. I can't believe when I think about it, but Bombi and Demeter did not have to do the Siamese number because they were getting ready for McCavity.
Yeah. Okay.
And I really did not enjoy doing that number.
That number got cut.
Thank goodness.
As it should have. It's the right
even
decision.
Back in the 90s, I was like, this ain't right.
There were some things that needed updated, and they made the call as they should have. Maybe later than they should have, but they made the progress there. I think it's an interesting piece now where, if you think about the storytelling, it goes into, you lose part of that part of Gus, though. Like, even if you would have cut, I kind of like.
Was the pirate scene in or no?
No, so that's the thing, is they go to Peaks and Pollicles instead now.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of almost wish that they could have cut the Siamese part and still maybe told some of that. Like the pirate
Jelly
part.
Lauren didn't have her song?
No.
That's such a pretty song.
Yeah, so there's not the operatic section and that whole, it's changed. So it's definitely, it's a different version of it with how it's gone. So there's there's definitely a big group that is between the different choreographers that have some pieces, but they've also kind of redid some of even the storytelling when they cut that out.
Yeah, I guess you have to.
Yeah, not a ton, but a little bit.
But you miss the whole story of Gus then.
You get Gus's story, but then instead of going into the example of playing as Growl Tiger, there's no Growl Tiger and Grillbone. It goes into Peaks and Pollicles instead.
Okay.
So it still works, but it's different. It's a different style.
It goes into Peaks and Pollicles. Wasn't that in the first act?
I think they. I'm pretty sure this is where this goes back to where I'm like, I think I'm right, and I could be totally wrong. If I am wrong, everyone send messages telling me somewhere wrong.
I don't remember. So. I feel Munkastrap sang Peaks and Pollicles, and I believe it's been so long. I think it was I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite song from the show?
My favorite song. All right, McCavity.
Yeah. That's my answer right now.
Yeah. But you know what? I really like the opening.
Mm-hmm.
The opening is super exciting. It is. It's super exciting when all the cats come, and the green eye section in the beginning, which is so fun. And then to gather on, so you come from the audience and gather on stage, and then that opening song, it's exciting. Yeah. But I do love McCavity. There's just something about that I love.
Did you ever scare somebody so much in Green Eyes that like did you have any moments during that?
Well, yeah, you always scare people.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you only could scare people if they had no idea about the show.
Yeah.
Right? Most people have some idea, but yeah, definitely.
I didn't. I wasn't ready for Green Eyes. Oh,
so were you freaked out?
I was so glad I was not on the aisle. I was 3 seats in or 4 seats in, and I was very freaked out. But I've also heard some in the revival, someone got punched and someone got hit, because they really? Jumped out and it was like someone's reflex.
Of, no, we're
response.
Pretty careful.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I've especially with kids, they're like, because it's unexpected.
Yeah.
Also, I remember sort of during the Tugger number, when Tugger would go in the audience and bring somebody up and dance with them. That always made me a little bit nervous because you could sometimes see that there were people who were like, no, I don't want to, and sometimes the Tuggers could be aggressive and say, no, you're going to dance with me or whatever.
I feel like you've got to at that point knowing, because they've done that in a bunch of shows. That happens. So that happens in 6. There's a moment where they interact with a fan member. And it's always if someone in the front row, and I'm like, is it always that seat? Because the first time I saw it, I'm like, I don't ever want to be in that seat. As someone who does not want to be there. But then I've seen it a couple times, and every time it's like, nope, it's a different person. So I think they're eyeing.
That's true.
Who's going to have fun with this?
Yes, that's true.
So I always kind of hope that you have that. But yeah, I wasn't ready in 2016. And they don't do it in every production right now because of COVID. So COVID, they stopped going out into the crowd in certain productions that wasn't
even
allowed.
Green Eyes.
Yeah, so Green Eyes was they basically start on stage. So the Green Eyes flash, but on stage they weren't around the theater.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know, right? I think it's kind of an interesting piece. I think they've done it in a few places. I know the U.S. tour didn't do it. So we'll see how long it takes.
Because we used to go up in the balcony, and it was super fun. Yeah, that was on a Sunday night when you're tired, and that's kind of a way to get yourself. Oh, okay, we're doing this show now.
Yeah, you're right in somebody's face. You realize you realize who you're performing for.
I don't know if anybody told you this, but and I'm pretty sure it wasn't just Hamburg, but the cats aren't allowed to meow.
I did not know that.
No. So that's
interesting.
We were told you cannot make a meow sound. We never meowed.
So what?
And the
did
reason
you hiss? Did you
we just weren't meant to make cat sounds. We could look like we were making cat sounds, but I think they felt, at least in Hamburg, that it cheapened it.
Okay.
A little bit, that it became too obvious, that cats do this or cats do that, that they wanted it to come more from inside rather than hissing loudly or meowing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard that, or I didn't know that. So
maybe that was a Hamburg thing, or maybe I made it up and I'm remembering, and maybe someone will say, no, Lynette was wrong.
Everyone else meowed. You just you didn't get that memo.
Right. No, but I do remember that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, my fun question is I know you're currently a teacher.
Yes.
Which cat do you think would be the best teacher?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Which cat would be the best teacher? Mm-hmm. Okay, so which cat has the most wisdom?
Or would maybe command the classroom, or, it depends on what type of teacher you want to, you're walking into.
So I could see Bombularina being a good teacher, just because she'd be fun. She's older. She knows a lot. She's been through a lot.
Okay.
Going to say it like it is. And she's not going to be intimidated by a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know about Grisabella.
No, you can't let her. She's got to stay away from the school.
Yeah, and I think that she's too damaged.
Yeah, I think the ones that I thought of for this is I hadn't thought as much about Bombi. I thought Skimbleshanks is my principal, probably.
Okay.
And I thought Joey Lorem would be a really good, cares for her students. Would be there. I don't know how well she'd teach, but she would definitely be
caring.
Caring and
she'd be caring.
And then you've got old Deuteronomy and Gus coming in as
And Buster
guest
Jones.
and bus for like guest speakers.
Yes.
And then Tugger's my substitute, right?
Yes.
He's the one that's rolling in the
Tugger's-
cart and causing chaos, and like you don't
Tugger's
really
the-
want him there.
Yeah, he's the fun substitute that every
Yeah.
kid's going to look forward to because probably you don't do any work.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Most important question of this podcast.
Yes.
I have argued with hundreds of people now that I don't think Grisabella should have been the Jellicle choice. So what I want to hear is from you is if you are acting as old Deuteronomy for the night
And choosing the person
and
to go down.
you're making your pick, who are you picking and why, and what's your criteria and what's your rationale?
Okay. So, but the thing is, you got to think about what the Heaviside layer is, that it's kind of kitty cat heaven, right?
Mhm.
So she's been chosen to basically go to heaven. Okay. So wouldn't it have to be somebody who's a little older? Or maybe not.
I think
somebody-
that's a very important first question, which is criteria. Like why?
Yeah.
Like what is the rationale for how I pick this year?
Right. So, I mean, I've got to think about this carefully because it's got to be someone, I mean, the idea that she was shunned by all the other cats, right? She's had a hard life. They think she's horrible and old and decrepit and, a waste of whatever. And Deuteronomy kind of saves her. She reaches out to people or to creatures.
Yeah.
So you know what, honestly, maybe she's the one who needs to go. Or Deuteronomy, but Deuteronomy can't choose himself.
But can he? When's he done? I mean, Munkustrap's supposed to be next in line.
Well, Munkustrap's, he's too young to go.
No, I mean, he's supposed to be next in line. So I feel like when old Deuteronomy's done.
I think Deuteronomy should send himself up to the Heaviside layer.
All right, I love it. So old dude is going to be your vote.
He's gonna
I keep track. He's gaining steam. He's picked up a couple votes here recently. It's pretty much a Gus Grisabella race. That's the most common
Gus
two answers.
Could be Gus or old dude. Yeah. I mean, because you can't send Vicky up there. You can't send any of the baby cats,
I love it.
Yeah.
We'll do right. It's your time. Let's hand over the reins to Monk.
Exactly.
Grisabella can go next year, and then we'll figure out from here on.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm assuming your cast never talked about this.
You mean about the wrong cat died?
Who should have been the Jellicle choice? Like, did you ever have a debate of like, it's my turn?
No, we never did. I think we just accepted it's Grizzy who goes up there.
Yeah, that's the story. This is the story. We're just gonna lean into it.
I mean, I think we all thought it was corny.
Yeah, it's a redemption. It's a redemption story. I get it. But
she didn't do anything bad.
It depends on what you interpret her time away from the tribe as.
Okay, we don't know what she did.
So that's where every single Grisabella is giving me like a slightly different version of it, and because it's not spoken, it's not said, it's just you knew she left and it was left on bad terms and did bad things, and that's why they're kind of hissing at her, and that is the whole that is your entire plot of Cats. Like that's the whole thing. There's really nothing else.
Well, then there's the subplots.
There's a lot of
subplots.
Yeah.
Because Grisabella is actually not on stage that much.
No, it's like 15 minutes, 16 minutes total. So it's crazy. More reason that she shouldn't be picked. Right? She didn't dance the ball. She didn't earn it.
She comes out at the end, all fresh.
Yeah. Well, I love any vote that's not for her. That's I'm slowly trying
I never actually thought about it. So
that's what I'm here for. That's what this show's for, is asking the questions that nobody else is asking.
Awesome.
40 years later in this show.
I love it. Well, it's also it's fun to reminisce because it really was a very special time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun to hear your stories. I learned some new things I didn't know. I love the airline ball sections. I love the sitting at a different restaurant waiting for your call, not meowing. I mean, all kinds of new things I didn't know.
Oh, one other thing is when I joined CATS, it was, as I said, it was a big turnover. Mm-hmm. They had expanded their auditions to Russia. So to St. Petersburg and to Moscow. So they hired about 6 dancers and singers from Russia who spoke no English and no German.
Wow.
So we had a translator in our rehearsals who translated from Russian to English or Russian to German. Maybe it was mostly Russian to English. So that was an interesting,
Yeah.
And some of them are still almost 30 years later, still in Hamburg.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
As performers and still working, and probably not the dancers, but
Yeah.
the singer.
Yeah, the singers can keep going. They can have their
yeah.
Grisabella moment later. The dancers, it's like, yeah, this is physically, the ball's hard.
Yeah, ball was hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is awesome. Well, this has been so much fun. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Awesome.
And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the CATS catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or another listen to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Wrong Cat Died, or check our website, thewrongcatdied.com.